Morning, everyone. Let's kick it off. All right. Fresh off some action, a little volatility finally. We saw yesterday a huge move in our local index. We were down, I believe, 960 points or so. It was the biggest move we've seen in forever. Then last night we also saw over a 1% correction in the Nasdaq, nice correction as well out of the S&P. The Russell's down over 3% in the last two sessions. So definitely starting to get a little volatility back in the game, maybe fresh off the heels of the market really running up in anticipation of the Alibaba IPO. Yesterday the high flyers in the States are really the ones that led the way down. Really, the major tech stocks just got decimated across the board. We saw Yahoo, which got hit about 5.5% after a downgrade from Bank of America Merrill Lynch. We saw Alibaba was down over 4%. We saw Tesla, Netflix, Yelp. Every one of the kind of real high flyers under significant pressure yesterday. Baidu down about 4.5% as well. So it's a real move coming in tandem there. We'll have to see if we can hold up at all. You saw Tencent in Hong Kong follow down a little bit on the back of that again. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Obviously, we did a lot of the front running probably of that yesterday, but maybe a little bit more to come today. In Asia, we really saw mixed action. Shanghai finding a little bit of a bounce after some better than expected PMI numbers, maybe just giving a little bit of a relief rally to what's been a lot of negative news and a lot of negative talk out of China. I don't know if that's going to be enough to save it for too long, but it gives us some reprieve nonetheless. The Australian market also bounced a little bit as well, probably a little bit of relief out of China also. Also, what's creating a little bit of havoc for China at the moment is this weak yen, which really is not a real bonus for them because they compete with Japan on some of the exports there. So as the yen starts to weaken, it makes their exports a lot more competitive. So that just adding fuel to the fire and what's going on in China at the moment. But not a whole lot else going on in Asia on the day. Really, really cool chart here for our charts of interest today. We've got a chart from Wu-Tang Financial. Will lightning strike thrice? It's showing, and we talked about this before, and the fact that the Alibaba IPO is that kind of marking a top and a short-term top of markets. If we look in 2000, we had an Italian energy company. IMA SPA, that raised $16.5 billion. At the time, it was a record IPO. Was delisted in 2007, so that was pretty much a killer for anybody invested there. Now, that was just before the top, or literally right at the top in 2000. We also had Visa, which IPO'd on March 18th. They raised $18 billion, which was a record at the time. That really pretty much also marked the top of the market then. And obviously, we had Alibaba, which raised more than $21 billion on the 19th, which is looking pretty good for marking a top for us at the moment if we continue to sell off from here. I'm not saying that we will. Obviously, you can see we've had an enormous run up into it. It's a lot of money coming out of the market into other listings all at once. A lot of people were saying the same thing around the Facebook listing, which happened about a year and a half ago, and I think the market was probably roughly there where you see my cursor. So that didn't prove to be anything at the time. So we'll just watch this one, see how it plays out. But interesting chart there. Very cool. All right. Market data out today. Like we said, we had Chinese manufacturing PMI, which came in better than expected. It came in better than prior, and it came better than the survey, so that was a good number. We have French GDP at 845, as well as manufacturing confidence. We've got PMI numbers are coming across the entire Eurozone today. We've got the UK banking groups numbers. We've got non-farm payrolls here locally at 11:30. Then we've got PMI in the States, and we've got the Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index. So interesting day to watch in Europe today. I'd be watching for these manufacturing and service PMI numbers for then. I think you need to look at the German numbers at 9:30. That's going to be the most telling. But the Eurozone overall at 10 will be interesting to keep an eye on. All right, let's get into the maps. We've got quite a bit to look at today. throughout a lot of different sectors. So let's jump on it. First thing we'll look at here is the ALSI future. Wait a minute. Which you can see there. Let me just get this drawn just a touch better. Okay, so if we look at the ALSI, I'm going to actually shorten this up just a touch so we can really have a close look at this setup. You get the idea on how we trended up into this little wedge. And then you can see this morning where this morning's number is right there on that little red dot. So you can see we fell into kind of a 3-month little narrowing wedge in the index here, which we actually broke out of. We had a big gap up that happened obviously right there at closeout. And it looks to be at the moment obviously a false breakout. We very, very quickly, as you can see in yesterday's huge down move, have come to already test support on this wedge. I think if we drop below this level, and the level that I'm going to be looking for us to really drop below is probably about 45,700. We need to get under that level and really start to push away from it. If we can get below that level, I think we really can see a proper breakdown in the ALSI. Some of the real big moves that you see that happen technically will often happen on a false breakout that's given up pretty much immediately and reverses hard the other way. This is what that's starting to look like. So watch this over the next few sessions. I think if we can get below 45,700 and just push away from that level, especially if we can start to push away from it convincingly, I think it's very bearish for the ALSI. So watch that closely. Right, we'll look at FirstRand here. FirstRand also a major weakness shown yesterday. You can see here this level right at about 43 bucks. No, I'm drawing the best line ever, but either way, right at around 43 bucks, I would look for some a major support level here. If we drop 43, then I really think that we can come down and have a significant correction in FirstRand, which hasn't seen a significant correction in a couple years. Okay, let's look at Exaro. We're going to go into a 2-year in Exaro to go all the way down. This is that same chart that we looked at a million times. It had a wicked spike up a few sessions ago, and you can really just see there. I'll actually zoom it forward a little bit. I'm looking for closing lows, and you can see there that we've taken out the closing lows, which are really about 36. If we look at it on the Wix, it's at 135, which is exactly where we closed at the end of yesterday's session. So I'd like to see it drop 135. I think a move below 135 and a push away from 135 to the downside is really telling. It's actually kind of almost looks like a little bit of a ugly head and shoulder in there somewhere. It's definitely not classic, but bottom line, setup's looking very bearish, and dropping 135 to me is really opening the door for further downside in Exaro. Next one I will look at is Impala, and same thing. We're going back to a 2-year here in Impala, and we're marking a closing low. We came down to test a multi-year closing low yesterday. Sorry, I drew that really poorly. Let's look and find exactly where this number is. It's somewhere around the lows of yesterday's session. So the closing low, let's see here, 86. Yeah. It looks like 86 was the closing low. You can see yesterday we closed at 86 and change, 86.62. So that's the level that we're going to want to watch. I've shown this to one of the guys in the office yesterday. As we dropped 90 yesterday, there was definitely a little continuation pattern here, a little setup to take us down to 86, and we literally got exactly to 86 on the day. That level, like I said, is the previous closing low, so we're going to want to watch that. We did get below that intraday before. If we get below that and start to look like we're going to be able to push below it and hold below it, then I think it could be lookout below here. Just watch it closely. I would definitely think that we'll find some sort of support around these levels over the next couple sessions in Impalas, but watch it and see how it plays out. If it drops it, it's probably going to get hammered. So just watch it around the 86. Could be a big inflection point there. All right, Vodacom. Vodacom will shorten this up to a little bit shorter. We'll go out, just take the last few months, and you can see here we dropped out of dropped the neckline on a beautiful head and shoulder pattern, very classic, very symmetrical, and this takes us, gives us a target of as low as about, I would say, 7 Rand from the breakdown there. So we're looking for about 121. The neckline here is at 128. If we trade back up to 128 today and start to look like we're failing it, I would mark that as really a confirmation, and maybe a good opportunity to get short, especially in your shorter term books. So watch around that level today. If we do pop up and test that quickly, maybe a great opportunity to short down to around the 121 level. All right, next couple we're going to look at are going to be overseas. It's really where there's been huge game overseas lately. Trading financial markets. I mean, trading the States and the UK right now, there's a lot of action over there if you have the means. You can see here we've got a nice little head and shoulder set up in Caterpillar, and I think this is significant because of what Caterpillar is. It's very much a global bellwether, especially obviously from the mining space. We know the mining space is under pressure already, but just anytime Caterpillar is under pressure, the outlook for global economies are typically under pressure a little bit, and global GDP. So just watch this one closely. We're coming into the neckline here, just below, or just right at $100, basically, right on the nose, and we're only about 90 cents above that. So I'll expect us to come in and test that in the next day or two, and if we drop that, then I think it's very bearish for a global economy. If you look at the next one, the last one I'll look at is SAB Miller. We showed this a couple days ago. I just wanted to show it again. We're coming in to test support here. I would mark support somewhere around 34.70. This is really where we broke up from, and this would be a full gap fill. We traded north of 38. So, this is a huge correction here on what I think is a story that is probably a realistic story. I find it hard to believe that people won't be looking to buy this thing on significant pullbacks, because I don't think that InBev story is going to go away. And this thing, every significant pullback has been really a great opportunity to buy. So at 34.70 may be a great little opportunity as we come into support potentially today in London. Obviously here you can look at the converted price, but watch the pence price at 34.70. It could be an opportunity to have a nibble. That's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.